Welcome to Design Your Destiny, your podcast for tapping into the power of your subconscious mind. In this next few minutes, allow me to show you how to tap into that power so that you can create success with ease, form deeper connections, and have greater presence in your relationships, and most importantly, find peace within yourself. My name is Penny Chason, and I'm your host. Hey, everybody, it is Penny, and I have a special guest with me today, and she's really special to me personally because number one, today is my birthday, and number two, I booked a call with her as my birthday present last week because her specialty is human design. I have with me today Andrea Nin de Guzma. I do hope that I pronounced that well and didn't butcher it too much. She is a transformation catalyst, and I'm really going to let her dive in and share with you exactly what that means to her because she is a very special person. And welcome, Andrea.
Thank you, Penny, and happy birthday. It's great to be here with you. I'm excited. Like you said, I'm a transformation catalyst. My purpose is to help people reconnect with their fullest and highest potential so that they can be of an inspiration, not only in their immediate circle, but also in their business and with their community. I am a professional certified life and neuro coach. I've been trained by you as a board certified hypnosis consultant. And I spent the last year, a little bit more than a year, deeply studying and learning everything there is about human design and the impact that it can have in people. With that, I've really transformed the way that I think. I really believe that lasting change, one, comes from the inside out. And it's not about fixing what's wrong with you. So we're not broken. We're not, there's nothing wrong with you. It's really about embracing your inner perfection. It's about allowing yourself or giving yourself the permission to be who you were really designed to be.
Yeah, on this entrepreneurial journey that I've been on, it has been more of a journey about me, for me personally, in my own personal growth, so that I can actually be successful in business. And of all the people that I've connected with who are successful in business, they are on the same journey of growth. And I had heard about, Enneagram types, disc profiles. I've done the Gallup Strengths Survey, right? And I heard about human design. And I looked into the Enneagram and that really didn't resonate with me. But I plugged my information into human design and I looked at it and I'm like, manifesting generator. I'm sitting there thinking, well, I should just pretty much have everything I want. What is by the name of it? What is this all about? And of course, I dove into YouTube, watched videos and that kind of thing. And, obviously those are general applications of human design. It's impossible to be specific. And just so that for anyone who's listening or watching who's never done human design, when I pulled the chart and I looked at it, there's a lot of information on the chart. And so I'm going to let you just dive in for people who don't understand what human design is and start it by just explaining what is it?
Yes, and it can be very overwhelming when you first see that chart. Human design is basically the science of understanding yourself. It brings in ancient wisdom, like the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah. It also brings in astrology and the Chinese I Ching, and it combines it with quantum physics and even epigenetics. Because as you gain awareness, and the whole process of this is to really understand who you really are in your most authentic self. This is a tool that was channeled more than 20 years ago by a Canadian entrepreneur who later became known as Ra Uru Hu. And when it was channeled, the purpose of this was actually to help parents raise their children differently, to help parents raise their children in their essence instead of the parents putting on their own sets of limiting beliefs and behaviors that could eventually cause a lot of pain. So that's how it started. And then eventually it just grew from there to become this really wide tool that you can use in business, you can use with parenting, in relationships, in your own personal development, that really sheds light into what your natural traits are, your natural abilities, your gifts, your innate gifts, and helps you identify those blind spots that might be causing you pain today, because they're not really yours. They're not attributes that you have, but you're kind of forcing yourself to have them.
You said something that really just jumped out to me as a hypnotist in the work that I do, because I work with people to unravel the patterns and beliefs that they've adopted as their own that were basically indoctrinated to them. And you mentioned that this was created for children so that they could function in their essence. Yeah. Yet from the time they're 3, 4, 5 years old, we put them into a rigid school setting, a structure, a curriculum, and then we wonder why our kids don't thrive. We wonder why all of a sudden now there's this huge buzz. This thought came to me earlier today, and maybe you'll touch on it later. This whole concept of being neurodivergent. It occurred to me, what if this neurodivergence is simply not living in alignment with your type?
And that's what it narrows down to, because as we grow up, we start living by these rules, right? And we might not even see them as rules, but for example, having or looking or wanting to have the right answer constantly, or this notion of wanting to be right, to be recognized, to be loved, to have clarity when we're doing something. Even when we do business, in traditional business spaces, we're always asked to have a roadmap of how we're going to get from A to B. And not everybody is designed to have a roadmap, just like not everybody is designed to work from 9 to 5 or to really hustle through or power through when they're starting their own business. Everybody processes their own energy in a very different way. And what happens is, when you don't understand that, when you don't understand how you process your energy, how you're energetically designed, then that causes that pain in you. That causes, and that triggers the not enoughness. That triggers that I'm not good enough. And that triggers that hiding or that pulling yourself back because you don't feel that you are up to par with everybody else. And you're constantly comparing yourself. And what you're actually comparing yourself is, you're comparing those conditioned behaviors that you think that you have them in you with the way that other people are showing up.
Wow, that's really great. So how many design types are there? Let's kind of go into some basics.
So the basics, there are 5 designs. We could see them as 5 main archetypes. In human design, these archetypes really show us how each person has a unique purpose or a unique role within the community. So we have manifestors. Manifestors are those who are here to really bring in very innovative ideas. They're inspired from within. They're here to create, to transform, to create a lot of disruption in the world. They, for example, are not designed to work 9 to 5. They're highly independent, very much in themselves, because they are creating from this inner connection, kind of like this deep, deep, deep connection with, we call it the universe, source, the energetic connection. That's one. Once they bring up an idea, you hand them off to a generator or a manifesting generator. A generator is somebody who is here to give life, to bring life to that idea, to give it continuity. Those are the power bees, the ones who, as long as that they're tied to what lights them up, as long as that they're working on something that really brings them joy, they could work for hours and hours and hours, and they can keep on going and going and going because they have that Energizer Bunny energy. Then you have projectors. Projectors are the natural leaders in our communities. They are people who are able to see the potential in any situation. They're able to see potential in people. They know how to bring people together. They naturally are able to see who works best with whom. And at the same time, they're able to see the difference between who people want to be and their current state of reality. So it's a very, for me, they're like human walking X-ray machines. They really see through you. They see your potential, but they also see their own stories that when you tell yourself to hold yourself back. And then you have reflectors, who are the natural barometer of a culture, of a dynamic, of a group, or of a collective. They are designed to just pick up on what other people are feeling, sensing, and to express that. They're like these huge walking mirrors. And as they do that, the purpose that they serve in this, well, for humanity, is to teach you where you're out of alignment, where you're not really fully expressing yourself as you are, as you were meant to be. There are not that many few reflector that there are not that many reflectors. Only 1% of the population is a reflector. So to have one is really, I feel like it's a gift of life, because their energy is very deep. They really mirror you. It's very interesting to be in contact with a reflector. Projectors, those natural leaders, make up around 20% of the population. Most of the population is made up of either generators or manifesting generators. And manifestors make up around 10% of the population. So if you see in the collective, we have a lot of that doing energy, because that's what 70% of us are here to do. But you also have 30% who have a very separate role, who are not designed for that doing. And it's interesting when, for example, when you're in business and you find out that you're a manifestor or a projector or a reflector, and you find out that you are not designed to do the hustle and to power through things, and you can actually work and grow your business in a completely different way.
I love that. And we're going to get into that later. So what are some of the reasons that people most commonly reach out to you for readings?
I have two types of clients. I have, for example, I work a lot with coaches who want to create, who are connected to their intuition and sense that they want to create something different for the world, for their community, but sometimes are held back by the established parameters of how you need to do a business, of what it means, product launches, multiple things. And it doesn't sit right with them. So they've maybe already worked with multiple business coaches or done different programs. They've tried everything, but it's still not working. And what we do when we work with their human design, we identify those areas where they're basically shutting down their intuition, so they can reconnect with that and really create something that brings them joy. And something that really aligns with what their inner wisdom is telling them is necessary to bring to life. So that's one type of client. And the other one is somebody who is in this process of transformation. So a lot is going on in their lives, a lot of shifts, relationship shifts, changes, or they're about to transition, maybe changing in jobs, changing type, maybe even focusing on in a different type of business, but they're still unsure of taking that next step. So they're holding themselves back, they're playing small. And again, that having a business design or a human design reading really helps them shed light into who they really are and also empower them to take that next step. Those are the two main people that I work with.
Yeah, and since I've learned about human design, sometimes I recommend to my clients that they basically get their chart and learn their human design type and find someone to get a reading. I actually recommend you because you and I are in a coaching group together. And one day I shared a post how so many things were changing and I was waiting for confirmation from the universe. And you mentioned something about human design. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a manifesting generator with a 3-5 triple split. And you messaged me privately and you're like, hey, I didn't want to get into this there. And the things that you spelled out were things that I had managed to figure out on my own, but I wasn't able to define them in the way that you did. And, it costs time, right? To figure these things out on your own. You make mistakes figuring these things out on your own. Of course, we learn from those mistakes, but my God, when you've got Andrea at a time. But, when I work with clients, I have them identify that vision what is the end result? Like, what is the shift you need to see to know that your work with me has been successful? And sometimes we run into some resistance and they're like, I'm still resisting this. And I'm like, okay, let's take a look at your values. Because if what you desire and the way you said about going to get it is misaligned with your values, your subconscious is going to push back. And so if we go through that and the values are aligned and we're still hitting resistance, and it's like, you need to know your personality type. You need to know your design type. You might be working against yourself. So I knew just enough about it to put it into that context. The way that I began to figure this out for myself is, like I mentioned, you and I both have done coaching with Jim Fortin. And one of the things that I learned early on from one of the coaches in that group is to work from a place of being pulled and not pushing or forcing. And I'm like, okay. And so the whole thing is, let it be fun, let it be easy, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, that works. Well, then I have a business coach and it's, all about the 90 days. What's your end point going to be? How are you going to get there? And, okay, yeah, I get the point of focusing on one thing, but I guess I'm what some people would call multi-passionate. It's like I'm told, you just need to sell one thing. Well, no, I like to work with clients one-on-one. I like to train. There's this other thing over here that I want to do, and so I felt like there was something wrong with the way that I was thinking about it. And what you shared with me is that when I would get into this situation where I'm following an agenda, where I'm focused on an endpoint, and I'm just in it to get the things done to see the result, that I am shutting down my intuition, my flow, and my ability to create. So most of the people who follow this podcast, they're all about wanting to create a life that they want. So I'm just going to leave that to you and let you dig in and give us all the juiciness.
So what happens when you encounter that conflict of, I want to create something? My intuition is guiding me this way, but traditional business rules tell me otherwise. And I have this push-pull of, who do I pay attention to? Well, I'm going to pay attention to the expert because I feel that I don't know enough, right? And what I see from the readings that I've done is why that push-pull happens is because, one, we feel this pressure to have it right, to make the right decision, right? Because there is this, we've been conditioned with this notion of it's wrong to have, it's not right to be wrong. Even since we've been in grade school, we're always praised to have the right answer, right? To have A's in all our papers, to ace tests. So when you don't make the right choices, even if it's just part of your learning experience, it causes pain. So that's part of a conditioned behavior. And you're by design, you're automatically pressured to find the right answer, which sometimes stalls you. And that's where you go into procrastination. That's when you start distracting yourself with other things. That's one thing. The other thing that I see is people holding back because they're afraid of all the greatness that they can really create. So maybe my vision is too big, but what happens if it becomes true? What happens if this grows way bigger than I really expected? So then I tend to hold myself back because in reality, I want to feel loved and accepted. I want to be seen. I want to be recognized. And I'd rather play small than really fully express myself. That's another conditioned behavior that I see. And that comes into play with business of, I'd rather pay attention to what somebody else is doing than really pay attention to what my intuition is telling me, because maybe this is going to go way bigger. And the other thing that I see is holding on to past ideas out of fear of not having that certainty of where am I going? Or even when you're focused, if you're working with a 90-day plan, choosing to focus on just the doing, but not connecting to who you are being. And again, shutting your intuition down. And the way that I integrate both, for example, in a session is, okay, you have a focus because you're running a business. You know what you need to do to get your numbers. You have to measure you have to measure your progress. That's part of running a business. But that doesn't mean that your business doesn't have to be fun. That doesn't mean that what you get to do in the day can't light you up. So out of all the things that you have in your plate, let's start with the one that really lights you up, that gets you excited. If you're a manifesting generator, for example, or a generator. So when that happens, what that creates is that energetic momentum to get things going. And then the next thing becomes easy, and the next thing becomes fun. And that is how you get the ball rolling into building your business, into going through your to-do list, into promoting yourself, or whatever it is that you need to do. If you are not designed as a generator or a manifesting generator, then the question is completely opposite. It's not about what you need to do. It's about how much rest do you need to take first. Give yourself time to rest. Honor your time to rest, recharge, restore, and recover first. Because as you do that, you're going to prepare yourself energetically to go and execute when the timing is right, when the invitation comes, when whatever it is that's brewing inside you is ready to come out. And not many coaches, or traditionally in business, they don't tell you need to rest first. It's the opposite. It's you need to do.
Yes, absolutely. I totally get that. I'm looking at my notes. I took 10 pages of notes, and that was just one of my 2 calls. One thing that we didn't get to last week that I do have on my mind, and maybe it's going to be in our next call. Some people are single definition, but I'm a triple split. And when I did my research, YouTube, what I found was I need to be in physical proximity of other people to connect my centers. What does that mean?
Your splits, they're a guiding mechanism for how you relate to others. And what are you looking for, I guess, in a subconscious level when you're reaching out, whether it's with a romantic partner, a business partner, a client, anybody that you're engaging with. So, for example, if you have a single definition, that means that if you trace with your finger all of your centers in your human design chart, they're all going to be connected. That's what having a single definition means, right? That means that your trigger points are going to be more about how you process your own energy when you're in relation to others. It's not about what connects you, it's about what triggers you based on your past upbringing. If you are a double split, that means that you have like 2 islands in your chart, then your triggers are not going to be the centers. They're going to be very specific energies that you lack and that you're constantly, unconsciously reaching out for in other people. I have a double split, for example, and all of my business partners, my husband, even my ex-husband, has the other complementary energy that I need. And it's funny how I just unconsciously just reach out and connect with those people that help me connect with that. When you are a triple split, you have a little bit of both. You like your alone time. You need your alone time. I visualize I need my library time of nobody bother me. I just need to be by myself. But there are times when you crave being with other people. And when you are with different groups of people, you feel different because you're picking up on your circuits, because your 3 islands are being connected differently. And it's fun. And it's fun for a while until it becomes overwhelming. And then you're like, okay, I need to be by myself again.
Yeah. And you just exactly described me. And by the way, YouTube did not describe that the way that she did. Just shared with me makes so much more sense because I do. I can be very energetic, and then it's like somebody flipped a switch and it's like, okay, I'm going away now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that specifically my husband's family probably thought I was weird, but you're just revealing to me something on a deeper level of what I already knew, like holidays. I would go and be around the family, and I can only be there a certain amount of time. And even now that we're back home with my family, we take separate vehicles because I am ready to leave hours before he is.
That's how it looks like. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how you're energetically defined. And that's the beauty of human design, because now it sheds light, for example, into that situation. And now you're not going to have those thoughts of what's wrong with me. I should be more this. I should be less of that.
Yeah.
You just completely shut down that dialogue.
I would say it was more frustration that my family just couldn't let me, it's not about you. It's not about you. I just want to be by myself. Right. So then you carry this sense of, I must be doing something wrong because I don't want to be around them. And my son is even much more to the extreme than I am. When he's ready to engage, he's there, but he's more of a back off kind of young man. Something else you revealed to me. I grew up hearing my mother in my ear, Penny, you never finish anything. And oh my God, I forget which center it was that you told me.
Your root.
Something will be yes, but let me get back to you was the way you described it. In this, even as an adult, this happens to me. Somebody will come, hey, Penny, would you be interested in this? I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let's do it. And then it's like a week before, it's like, oh, I just really wish I hadn't said yes. I don't want to do this. I have no interest in doing this. And it's not rude. It's not that anything changed with the person. It's just like something about the energy of it flipped. And it's like, okay, this isn't for me. And I know I cannot be the only person in the world who experiences this. What do you say?
And that's exactly how it works. When you look at the root center, which is the bottommost center in your design, and the square right above it, which is your sacral. When I read that, that's how I know how you operate in business. So are you overwhelmed by the details? Are you overwhelmed by the long term, the big picture? Can you finish things? Can you start things? What is your level of, it's not commitment, but it's what's the time frame that you need to decide? Can you just make decisions long term, or you do just need to make decisions in the very short term? Or can you make commitments in the very short term? In your case, you are more of the short term. Because if I ask you, Penny, are we going to do something in October? You're going to be like, yeah, sure. And then maybe come September, you're like, I don't want to do this. And that again, if you don't understand that, or if you don't give yourself permission to be that way, because it's you naturally feel it. And that's the beauty of human design. A lot of what I tell my clients, they already knew from way before. Like they already picked up on that. They just didn't have the words to put it into place. But it was their intuition that was telling them this feels right, or maybe this doesn't feel right. So when you know your design, then that's how you can give yourself permission to, I'm just going to be this way. And I don't owe you any explanations. This is just who I am. You're probably designed differently. And as you know your design, you pick up on how other people are designed in a different way. And that just gives you so much more permission to just be. And that's why for me, it's the science of epigenetics that also comes into play. Because when you give yourself permission to just be, that dialogue, that inner voice, that critic or that saboteur shuts down, because it doesn't have any reason to continue yapping and telling you you're not enough, you're not good enough, or not this or not that, or you should be more of this or less of that. It just shuts down, because now you know that this is who you are, and it feels good because you've always felt this way. You just didn't understand why, but it just is. This is who you just are.
Yeah, I love this whole conversation, and I guess the next call that you and I have together, we're going to dive into the genetics of it. Was my understanding correct? So I'm truly looking forward to that, and I'm really sitting with and embracing this idea that you mentioned that my head center is defined, and it makes me a disruptor, right? Like, what does that really mean? And for someone whose values are compassion and kindness, like, how do you disrupt, right, in that kind, compassionate way? And so I've really been playing with this and like, what can that look like? Because you also hinted upon that people may not necessarily understand my concepts or my ideas because I'm coming in from a different dimension. And it's really nice to know that, it's may not necessarily be my way of expressing, but my thinking is on a different level. And again, to not get into maybe my idea is not good enough. There's something wrong with my idea. It's not going to fit into the status quo. And from what you told me, I'm not meant to be status quo at all.
At all. Yes. Yes.
Excuse my French, everybody. It's fucking liberating, okay? I mean, I've always been an advocate of just being me, but now I understand this is a part of who I am. It's opening up doorways, and stay tuned, because as I implement this into my business and my life, who knows what it's going to bring, because I haven't decided yet. I think the biggest takeaway for me from all of this and the conversation that we've had is that fitting into a social paradigm, a social construct, this whole notion of having expectations of what normal is, what acceptable is, we are actually doing ourselves as a human race a huge disservice.
Yes, completely. And that's what causes us pain. That's what makes us feel like we're broken, that we need fixing, because we compare ourselves to this standard, and nobody is standard. Everybody is unique. So when you start seeing yourself as you being the most amazing, unique expression of who you're meant to be, of like you being you is really the biggest gift that the world could ever receive. Oh my goodness, like your heart just starts beating. It's on fire. It becomes so liberating, because you no longer need to adapt or conform to other societal norms. There is no perfect. You are already perfect just as you are.
You're preaching my song there, Andrea. Can you hear the hawks outside? I don't know if you can hear them through the speaker. When you started talking about that, the hawks started going crazy outside. I just love it.
Goosebumps.
There are no coincidences. I highly recommend to anyone who's listening, if it's not ease and flow in your business and your life, to reach out to Andrea. We're going to have her links. I strongly encourage you to reach out to her, because if you're finding yourself in frustration, somewhere along the way you're working against yourself, and that's been the biggest eye-opener to me out of all this. I think I've said that 3 times, so I'm somewhere along the lines. One of them's not the biggest. But either way, so is there one way that you would like to share with everyone, and then just let everybody know where they can find you, social, website, how they can book a call with you, and we will wrap it up.
Awesome. My takeaway is I'm actually going to give you a seed question for it's a new moon. There are new gates. A lot of information is being triggered right now. And my seed question for you for this week is, how can you start living from a state of possibility? How can you start living from a state of completeness, of fully accepting who you are, and not just accepting, but really embracing? And instead of seeing what you're lacking or what's missing in your life, start seeing what is in abundance. Because it's as if when you open a fridge door, the first thing that you focus on is, I'm out of milk, I'm out of this, I'm out of that, I'm missing this, I need to get more of that. And the same thing happens when we look inside and we talk to ourselves. There's always something that there's not enough of. But very rarely when we open the fridge, we say, wow, I have so many vegetables. Wow, I can't believe I have so much bread or so much whatever. Just like we don't talk to ourselves in that way. We don't talk about our abundance. And when we don't talk about what we have in our greatness, which is what human design tells you, you start living from this place of circumstance and from not enoughness. And you completely disconnect yourself from your own creative power. So just that seed question of how can you start living from this place of loving and accepting and embracing yourself so that you can create more possibility in your life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us today. Let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm at ANG, those are my initials, ANG.transformationcatalyst. And on my website, you can find all the readings that I have and programs at www.angtransformation.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today. I really hope that this sheds some light on human design and how it can benefit my listeners in their business, their life, their relationships. It's been a wonderful chat. All right, everyone, we will see you next week. Thank you for listening today. If you've enjoyed this episode of Design Your Destiny, I would appreciate it if you would head over to iTunes and leave a positive review. When you leave a positive review, it's like podcast currency, and we can increase our reach and get the message to even more people that they, just like you, have the ability to design their destiny. And remember, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.